Hey, good morning everyone on the internet. This is Blind Justice coming to you live on the streets of Aberdeen, Washington, sitting outside of City Hall. And it's day 47 of our peaceful protest, Resting is Not a Crime. And wanted to speak to you about visualization. Visualization. To visualize, or the process of visualizing. Well, what does it mean to visualize? Well, you don't have to actually see with your eyes to visualize. In fact, trying to use your physical eyes to visualize can be a deterrent or be an inhibitor. So a lot of times when you visualize, you close your eyes, right? And you imagine what something is going to look like, or how you may want it to look like, or how you may think it's going to play out or going to look like in the future. So, for example, when people walk downtown, or they think about walking downtown, a lot of people have been telling us that they are afraid. So the visualization that they are creating, the story that they're watching in their mind is themselves walking down the street, somebody sitting on the street or laying on the street, or engaging in intercourse around the corner, or any of these things that people have said, any of these other activities, drinking beer and yelling. And then they visualize them walking past or walking towards that activity, or a person doing that activity, and they visualize it going violently. That's the visualization a lot of people have, right? Even though their experience doesn't say that. Even though they haven't actually physically experienced that, where they walked by somebody doing one of those activities and then actually attacked. So what happens then is that visualization becomes the reality that people essentially associate as being real, as being the truth, rather than their own experience walking through town, right? Which is why when people tell me they're afraid of certain situations, I ask them, well, have you experienced that? Has that actually happened to you? And thus far, everyone I've asked that says, oh, well, no, but I've heard it does happen. Or, no, it does happen, and I know it does. It happens a lot. Or you get the, well, just because I haven't seen it doesn't mean it hasn't happened. And like, okay. But you're allowing something that is hearsay, that is rumor, literally you heard it said to you, paint this picture of your reality instead of your experience, right? So there's visualization isn't always in a negative sense, right? You can visualize, athletes do this all the time. Pro athletes do it exceptionally well. Receivers in football visualize running the route, visualize smoking the defender, and then visualize the ball coming over their shoulder and bam, catch, touchdown, or, right? They visualize all the time. There was an interesting story about a swimmer. I want to say he was a high school swimmer. And I don't think he started out swimming. He started out in a different sport. And the swim coach was like, hey, you should try swimming. So he started swimming, and he found that he was really good at one particular race. And he was doing really well his first year in it. So then at the end of that year, he was asked to come back the second year. And he didn't, because he wanted to pursue something else. But during that first year, he was swimming with his team and his coach had him do visualization drills. Like, all right, when you go home, or before you fall asleep at night, have a stopwatch and close your eyes, hit the clock, and visualize diving into the pool, swimming your race, right? And swim every lap of the pool and the race until you get your distance. See every stroke in your mind. Bam, going to the end, flipping, turn around, every lap. And when you're done doing your race in your mind, hit your stopwatch while you're lying in your bed. And so he did this, and he did this, and he did this. And he was consecutively faster that first year. He was consecutively faster in his mind than he was in his body in the pool, right? Which actually gave him some inspiration to be faster in the pool when it was actually race time, and he got faster and faster. Well, he took he was planning on taking the next year off, and I think he did, but then their team had some instances where they were down an individual, or a couple of teammates couldn't make it to one of their meets. So the coach reaches out to this student again and says, "Hey, I know you haven't been training a lot, and you have been racing with us, swimming with us. Would you like to come and do this meet with us?" And so he said, "Yeah, sure." So he goes and swims his race, and he breaks the state record. He swims exactly because he still was doing that. It was becoming part of his nightly routine. He still was swimming his laps in his mind, and when he actually swam, even though he hadn't been doing the training as much in the physical form, he swam it like he had been swimming it in his mind. So visualization is huge. Another good example of that would be, I want to say, the 4-minute mile. I think it was the 4-minute mile. So it was probably a quarter of the way through the last century when everybody was saying, all the scientists said, no, the human body can't run that fast. It's just incapable of running a 4-minute mile. And runners several of them, some of the top runners in the world, were like, no, we can do this. They're visualizing to being able to do it every step of the mile, every part of the race, all the way around the track, 4 times, and just got it clock going in under 4. And then one guy does it. One guy breaks the 4-minute mile, and within the same year, I think like 17 other people, a whole slew of other people, break this prior thought to be impossible feat, right? And so it was something had to be unlocked in the psyche of the human mind to say this is possible, visualizing this as a possibility, and then people started to enact it, right, and actually doing it. So visualization is huge. So how do you address some of the situations here in Aberdeen using visualization? Well, to clarify there's been some confusion. Some people have mistaken what I've said about if you're, leaving work late at night and there happens to be a situation going on, like some people having intercourse or something like that. Somebody sitting on the sidewalk near your business or where you're leaving. I have not said that you need to stop in the moment and do a comprehensive analysis of your feelings. That I'm recommending to do when you're not in the situation, right? And dedicate time every day for that. Maybe at the end of the day, maybe at the beginning of the day. At the end of the day is great because then you can go back through your day and like, okay, where did I have some emotional responses that I could have handled differently, right? Or wasn't the most life-promoting response that I had, a reaction, that I had. And then you can say, okay, well, where did that emotion come from, right? When you're not in that situation, when you actually have time to contemplate, to journal, to introspectively assess what's going on. So, not necessarily in the moment, but if you do that, if you make that a practice in your daily life of knowing yourself, hi guys, right, and understanding your emotions, understanding your thoughts, where these things come from, then when you're in the moment, just like in the athlete's training and visualizing, when you're in the moment, you have a positive, life-promoting way of engaging in those situations without choosing fear, which triggers, like we talked about before, chemical responses released into your body, which makes it harder for you to make rational choices and fine motor movements, right? So you can absolutely visualize peaceful resolutions, peaceful engagements with people that are even actually yelling, violence towards you or physically acting violence towards you. A lot of, and I've talked with a lot of friends about this with the topic of home invasion, because the only picture that they visualize ever, a lot of my friends are gun owners, right? They picture, well, anybody breaks into my house, I'm shooting them. That's the only thing that's the only thing they could see. That's the only thing they visualized was that. And it's like, okay, what other options are there? And like, there aren't any other options. I'm like, okay. So, but that's the issue that we're talking about, is that when they close it off and say, no, there's no other options but this one option, then your visualization is that. And so if anything happens that prevents you from doing that and challenges that visualization, now what? Right? And that's where a lot of people freeze. That's where a lot of people in combat situations or in very stressful situations freeze up or don't know what to do because they haven't visualized anything other than that one plan. You know, plan A has gone out the window and they're like, oh no, what do I do? But if we practice in visualization on peaceful resolutions, on peaceful engagements, and engaging other humans like humans, right? And learning how to de-escalate rather than to escalate. Oh, they're yelling, well, I'm gonna pull out my mace. Right? That's the escalation. Okay? So learning to de-escalate, recognize somebody's communicating with me, and then communicate with them as a human being in a safe manner that promotes peace and well-being for everybody. You can visualize many ways of resolving things and peacefully, harmoniously, without escalating. So visualization is an amazing gift, amazing ability that everybody has, and we just need to exercise it and harness it and develop it just like any other gift, any other strength, right? You can always get stronger. And so visualize what's going on with the city, not just in the small, small picture of individual interactions like we just discussed, but in the big picture of where do we want the city to go, right? What do we want to see for the city? We want to see businesses thrive. We want to see people off the street and housed and have all their needs met. We want to see jobs, like where everyone that wants a job has a job, right? There's plenty of jobs here. This makes it an inviting place to live for people to come, not just to drive through, right? People to come and visit and hang out. Cruise lines may be coming back, so then cruises, that can be a whole job market for cruise lines, and maybe bring an industry that supply the cruise lines, have factories for that nearby. Amtrak trains, passenger trains, so that people that want to live in Aberdeen because it's so great here, and then can commute somewhere else if they still have a job in Olympia or Seattle or Tacoma or Portland. Like we have build a great passenger train system. So then that's an option there. But then that could mean reaching out to those big companies that are based in those bigger cities and say, hey, you guys want to partner with us in having some kind of housing for your employees, building a housing complex or something specifically for Costco employees or for whatever, Amazon employees, and then work with some shuttle systems in the interim, such as just like shuttle vans that are done at airports or hotels have shuttle services, or casinos. And then maybe even talking to Greyhound and saying, hey, have you thought about doing Greyhound business class, just specifically for a business run to and from cities as an option, as we work towards a rail system for passenger delivery. So just some ideas, right? Visualizing the possibility of the city growing in directions and areas that you may have not visualized before. So visualization is a wonderful, wonderful gift, and I encourage you guys to practice positive visualization and life-promoting visualization, peaceful ones, not destructive ones, right? Because if you start to imagine the future and visualize what's going to happen, and if all you have is this destructive, negative stuff, try to replace it. Try to replace that and exchange it out with a possible peaceful one. And if you're struggling with that, reach out to the page. Contact me, come talk. And we'll talk about any situation that you want, that you visualized going catastrophically horrible, and we can talk about ways you can visualize it in a positive, life-promoting, peaceful way. All right. Peace and love, everybody. And Deo Presso Liber.